Are so excited to have everybody here today joining us. This is our second month of our Monday Masterminds, and we are thrilled to have Gina Tufano joining us. But before we jump over to there, I want to say thank you to Gina for taking the time. But before we get into introducing her, I just want to remind everybody that our Monday Masterminds are the second and fourth Monday of every month. We have a packed lineup going forward, so we'll share all of our amazing speakers, dates, and times your way at the tail end of this. We do have coming up next, I'll just mention, is going to be Simon Westfall Kwong. That said, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Eva Kasoria. I have been in the real estate industry for about 16 years now. And I have run a small team probably for about 8 of those years. Shout out to Bill, who I know is here. I see him, who's on the team. And I'm not sure if Erica is or isn't, but she is another member of the team. And then, of course, Dylan, who has recently joined my team as a buyer's agent. So it literally has become quite the family affair. I've been under the EXP roof now for about 8 months, and that's when I joined with my family as a team of, I think we're 7 now. So we are Every Move Counts, which is EMC Homes here in New York and Connecticut. And our collective effort is Every Move Collective. And that's what brings these masterminds your way. So Dylan, you want to say quick hi, and then we'll hand off to Colby and Gina?
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Dylan. I know some of you guys know me, and we've had these meetings before, but yeah, just officially working in that buyer's agent role as of earlier this year, and looking forward to all the stuff it has to bring. Already have a bunch of deals in the works, and it's going well.
Thanks, Dylan. So yeah, I'm Colby. I handle operations and onboarding with EMC. I run a coaching business for team leaders. That's just a little bit about me, but I'm just going to dive right into introducing Gina so that we can get into it. So Gina Tufano has been in real estate for 27 years in the Northern Virginia area. She's like the coolest person on here because she's done a TED talk, and maybe she doesn't think it's cool, but I think it's like the coolest thing ever. Author, mentor, Reiki master. She is a Master U grad of Tony Robbins program and a mother of 3. And we're going to be talking with her about optimizing collaboration. We think this is an essential ingredient for success nowadays. So we're going to be asking her questions. And if you have questions, please put them in the chat, raise your hand. This is kind of like an intimate group today. So feel free to just speak up. We definitely have the capacity for that. So Gina, I'm going to hand over the mic to you.
Thank you, Colby. Thank you, Ava and Dylan. And Bill, I guess. Bill's on the team too, right? I am so excited to be here. I met Eva, I want to say 10 years ago, roughly. And we were both at Keller at the time, and we met at a conference. So the relationships, I believe Cabo was an EXP thing that you guys had. Those relationships can last a lifetime. And it falls right under collaboration, communication, cooperation, all of that. In 27 years in real estate, I've seen everything, and then I'm still surprised about once a week. So everything's always changing. This job is not boring. It's not for the faint of heart. So when she asked me to jump on the podcast, and she had recently left, neither one of us are at KW anymore. I wanted to hug her. Of course, I will support everything she does. She's an amazing human, no matter what brokerage she's at. So the topic is near and dear to my heart. Her family's near and dear to my heart. And I'm so excited to share some of my experience and learn from your wisdom as well.
Just let me jump in here for 1 second and ask a quick question. How many here? I'm getting a little bit of feedback. I don't know if you guys hear that, but How many of you here have had to co-broke a deal with an agent from another company? Show of hands. Yeah, it's a pretty common thing, right? So it shouldn't be something that's strange to any of us. And then Gina alluded to it a little bit, and I see faces on here that I have worked with when I was at the same brokerage and now at different brokerages. So I'm sure many of you have had to collaborate across brokerages as well, right?
Absolutely.
I know that Tyson hasn't taken his mic off, which I find really hard to believe, but he's one of the people that has entertained us through many different brokerages. So, right, Tyson?
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
So, stay close to Tyson. You might get an invite to his amazing locations.
You never know.
Brokerages.
You never know.
So, Gina, how would you define, let's dive right in here. How would you define collaboration and cooperation in the overall context of real estate? Yeah, fine. Let's dive right in here. How would you define?
Oh, now I hear feedback. Sorry. Collaboration and cooperation in real estate. Collaboration can be anything from how to build your business and learning from success leaves clues, learning from others. So this is collaboration. This is us coming together to elevate and become bigger and better than we were, or streamline, and not necessarily bigger. I've sort of changed my tune to that. More effective at meeting our goals. To collaborate with other brokerages, it could be as simple as a broker's open, and with all the other listings in the neighborhood. It could be a group open house if there's other listings in the neighborhood. I know right now, if there's more than one listing in a neighborhood, we're all very, very excited about that. There's not a lot of listings, but that collaborate is to work together. And that's what we're doing. Cooperation, I think, is when you're in a deal. So that's more when you're working as the buyer's agent or the listing agent. You are cooperating. Yes, you're representing your seller's best interests or your buyer's best interests, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're fighting with the other agent. That does not serve your client either. To cooperate with another agent is to have excellent communication, our other C word. It's to communicate the terms of the deal, what's going on, timelines, showings, all of the things that are involved. As well as, and this is where I don't know if everybody feels the same way, but I feel like we need to communicate if there are red flags that we see, even if they're not, the sky's not falling. If we see a red flag, just say, hey, I saw this. What do you think? It's not, you don't come from it from a standpoint of aggression or an adversary. It is truly, we're cooperating with each other. We have a buyer that wants to buy and a seller who wants to sell. And if we can make it work, we can make it work. And that's not going to happen if we're fighting with each other.
Absolutely. When we were defining the topic for this call, we talked about mastering collaboration, cooperation, and communication. And one of the things that we started chatting about, which I'm sure everybody here has experienced, is, they call it a cooperating broker for a reason. They don't call it the fighting broker. They don't call it the nasty broker, I don't want to answer your question broker. They call it cooperating, but a lot of times it's easy to lose sight of that, right? You want to defend or you want to serve your client as well as you possibly can, and it's hard to sometimes to remember that includes working with the other agent on a level that is cooperating and not fighting. So what kind of strategies do you use, Gina, to actually navigate those co-broking type of situations when you're, especially in this market, trying to get a buyer client a deal?
It is communication. It's the magic wand. It's when you leave a house, to go from the buyer side. So you leave a house and your buyer wants it, call the listing agent immediately. What's going on? What's important to your client? How much traffic have you had? Are you holding any offers? Blah, 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 all the things. It's not just go write an offer, send it, and then be like, hey, did you get it? It's communication. Like what settlement date are you looking for? What's important to the client? If you see something in the house, your goal, it sounds so manipulative when I say it. Your goal is to separate your client's emotions from the deal and to attract the other client's emotions into the deal. So think about it as a listing agent. You're a listing agent. You're turning that home into a house. Your language is very important. It's a property. It's a house. It's not a home anymore. You're going to be selling it. However, when we write our descriptions or when we talk about things, we do it very, we want to entice emotion. We want the buyer to be excited about the house. We want them to get involved. And in knowing those things, the communication is truly, I went off on a tangent there, sorry.
No, but I think that's a great point. I never really thought of it that way, that when you are selling it, you're trying to detach the emotion, because I have a seller right now who is so attached to his home that every decision he makes is from this emotional place.
Yeah.
And yet when you're dealing with the buyer side, like you just said, you want them to get excited and attached and emotional and loving it and acting from that place.
As the listing agent, as the buyer's agent, you're there to remind them that the ugly house is a better deal. You don't want to wait for the moment of negotiation to find out where their cry point is. So that's what I call it. In today's buyer's market, they're submitting an offer, they're doing an escalation clause. And at what point would you cry if you didn't get the house? And what point would you cry if you did? So if you did get it, let's say it's $1 million house and you decided that you would write 1.2, and then you find out we just had one go about 250 over. So that's where my numbers come from. And then you find out there's 15 other offers out there. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, should we go to 1.3? Should we go to 1.3? And where would you cry? If somebody came in at 1.25, would you cry? Would you be mad if you got it? Because ultimately you could get it. We had a buyer go so high recently. He asked me what I thought, and I think he crossed the crazy line. And I just said, I'm uncomfortable. If you want to go here, know that you'll be living here for a long time. I understand it. It's a great house. So, the market's not here yet. And you can wait. And he's like, I don't want to wait. Okay. We can go. And he found his cry point, at which point, if he bought the house, he'd be sad, that he got it, or he'd be sad that he didn't get it. So we have those emotional conversations before you're talking to the other side. So they will be emotional, but you want to keep that out of the transaction, even on the buyer side. You want to say, nope, this is our plan. Remember, this is our plan. Remember. The same thing, it goes down with everything, not just negotiation. When they say they want, we absolutely have to have a garage. Here's the communication. This is my best thing. Both parties, I always make a husband and wife or a couple or two parties sit down and fill out their wish list on the buyer side separately. And then we bring the pieces of paper together. And then we define the words. So they can both be sitting there in their house talking. It's all communication. In case you haven't. They can be sitting in their house talking, saying, oh, I can't wait till we get a house. It'll have a garage. And they're both like, oh, yeah, I'd love a garage. And they both write garage. And then I sit down. I'm like, okay, what does garage mean? What does that mean? And one of them's like, oh, it has to be a 2-car garage so I can have a workshop and I can park and my car can be warm. And the other one's like, oh, just a carport to keep the snow off. And they're not speaking the same language. And then we define what their minimum is. And then they find a house without a garage that they want to go see. And it has everything else they want. And you're not going to want it. You will love the kitchen. You're not going to want the house. Don't unless the garage isn't important, and then we're going to open up this whole world. But it's communication, and it's keeping the emotions out on the buyer side too. You know, you want to bring them in as the listing agent, like, oh, isn't this great? I say money hides in closets and garages. If your garage and your closet are completely beautiful, people think they live that way if they buy the house. Joke's on them. You're going to live the same way they live in their current house, but money hides in closets and garages and basements, all the little storage spaces. But that's to make the buyers emotional and take the sellers out. So, oh, I just saw that comment. We're here to save our clients from themselves. That is 100% correct. So absolutely, we communicate with our clients, and then we take that away and we talk to the other agent, and we don't tell them, oh, they fell in love with XYZ, or, you know, what part of it is over the top for them. But we do say, you know, oh, this is our limit, you know, we might be able to change dates, or if we did change dates and they want something else, we really can't do that. But tell them why. Communicate the why. People understand when, and it makes it so much easier. And sometimes it's just not going to work. So as a listing agent in this crazy market, you get 47 offers. Confirm that you received them the minute you get them. Received.
Yeah, so if you wrap this back around, Gina, just for a second, to communication between agents, and somebody commented that they thought we meant co-broke, like two people listing of the same property, but I think we were using it in a more broad term of
Correct.
co-broking a deal. There's also emotion there. You know, I'm sure everybody here has experienced where, you know, they call an agent to try to get a feel for what's going on with the property, and you get met with a stone cold face, or you get one that's going to tell you everything under the sun about the
I
property.
like the ones that tell me everything. I will be the stone cold face, though. I'm not going to tell you much beyond what I'm supposed to.
So how do you get them to be warmer to you when you're approaching that conversation, or do you at all?
I do try to get the listing agent to love me as the buyer.
How could they not, you know?
Well, you know, but you listen, it's really just, honestly, it's psychology 101, right? How do we have good relationships in our life? We listen, we ask questions, we show interest, and we give space. We recognize signals, you know, like if they're being super short, say, oh, you know, I'm sorry, you know, I can imagine your phone's ringing off the hook today, you know, oh my God. And then you got them. They're talking to you now. You saw them for who they were and not for just what could you take from them. It's communication is cooperation and co-broker. That's the whole thing. But as the listing agent, I'm the one that's not going to tell you much. I will chat with you about the dogs in school and everything that you could possibly want to talk about, the market, what's coming on, what I know about the area, but specifics about, I'm not going to ever divulge the details of my clients. Those are the ones that I'm just like, I can't believe they told me that. I can't believe they told me it's a divorce and he's already moved out and he took the kids and whatever. Like, no, none of that gets in here. So that's what I meant, is I'm not the one that's going to tell you all that. It doesn't sit well in my book.
Colby, do you want to jump in here? I feel like I'm monopolizing.
I had really, really horrible Wi-Fi for 5 minutes of this call and couldn't hear a thing you guys said, which kind of stinks. So I'm feeling a little lost in what we covered already, but I mean, I really enjoyed the conversation you two just had. I think we're moving on to the importance of relationships in real estate.
Yep.
So one of the questions that we wanted to ask you about building trust and loyalty through relationship-centric practices, which is kind of what we've already been talking about. So if you really mastered this skill, relationship-centric practices, building trust, building loyalty, what would your business look like?
Are we talking about with our clients or with other agents? Or both?
I
You want
mean,
me to do both?
It's a little of both.
Yeah. So to do that on the client side, it's raving fans, take care of the people that you can. Back in the day, they used to say, trying to convert a new lead, it costs so much time and money to get a new client. Whereas if you already have one, love on them. Just love on them. Remember their birthday, check in with them, say hello, what's going on in your life, be top of mind. Your business will explode. I can attest because I personally stopped marketing now. It's been about 7 years ago. I'm not looking for the new client. I'm not chasing them. I'm chasing my people, or not even chasing. I'm loving on my people. And it builds quite the business. It's everybody turns into family, right? Friends and family. With other agents, though, there's things in there that surprise you. So not just the obvious referrals out of area. We all want to build a network of people. Like we have Tyson on the call, we have Ava, we have a whole bunch of people from all over, agents that we know. And when people like to work with people they know, right? So then you'll refer people to them. But it works that way in your local market too. If you're nice and you're known to run a solid business and respond to people. And I know I personally have received referrals locally from agents in my office who had something going on in their life and they couldn't handle a property, or something was over their heads, or, they just weren't comfortable doing it. I've gotten local referrals. And myself, when COVID hit, I referred out all over the place because I had an 8-year-old who I was distance learning as a single mom. I suddenly gave away a ton of business, but I knew who owned each market area, each center, and I said, ooh, they'll have the best chance of getting this listing. So let's refer them out there. So it's local and it's the network throughout the country. And it really is, people refer to people they know. So if you don't want more business and you don't like repeat referral clients, then don't communicate. Because if you don't like money, stop talking to people. It really builds a business that's a lot more than dollars and cents and numbers. It builds a life. It really does.
Yeah.
There's really nothing for me that like chips away at trust as not non-communication. Like someone who doesn't communicate effectively or regularly or answer me in a timely fashion, and like I might love them, but then I don't trust them with my clients,
Mm-hmm. That is absolutely true. And it's hard. I seek first to understand what's going on in that person's life, especially if it's someone you know. If it's someone you don't know, it's like, I don't want, I'm not here to try to save the world. But if it's somebody you know, that could be a red flag from them, that something's going on. So what's going on? Seek first to understand. What's the problem? And maybe it's nothing. Maybe they just whatever, but it's interesting because that will also build a relationship for life too. If you take the time to care. The same thing with the listing agent who's overwhelmed. Oh my God, your phone is probably, are you okay? You need a minute. Can I get you a Starbucks? Like things like that. I've DoorDashed Starbucks to listing agents' houses. So I say this when they're so tired and so done, I DoorDash, where are you now? They're like at the office, or someone I know where they live, and I will just send them something. It goes a long way.
Something that comes to mind, Gina, just if I can jump in here, is, you said very clearly that you don't disclose any information that is proprietary with your client. However, when you start having conversations with the listing agent, you are making them feel more comfortable, oftentimes making them feel like you're creating a win-win, which is ultimately what I think we're looking to do. And when you do that, sometimes I'm not looking for answers. I'm just listening for the clues. There's a lot of clues, even if you don't say anything. If you're on the phone with another agent and you're looking to be the person who wins the bid, you can get a lot of information from the silence or
Mhm.
lack thereof. So I would just throw that in here for anybody who is looking for like those kinds of tips on how to approach winning the deal. One of the ways is to listen to the silence of what's going on in that convo, but the other equally important thing is to get the agent to remember who you are. As a listing agent, I'm sure, Gina, if you have 40 offers on a property and I don't know who you are, your offer isn't standing out to me either. Unless it's, like just blowing everything else away, but that's besides the point,
Well, and that's another thing too. When there are times when I feel bad not accepting it, like I always hate the sorry, your offer didn't get accepted, right? I always hate that conversation as a listing agent. But there are some people I genuinely feel bad for, and they could be nowhere in the mix. I use a spreadsheet. They could be like the second lowest, but they were stellar at communication throughout. And, I want this for them. And as hard as that is, they will get a call that second from the bottom wouldn't normally get,
Yeah.
like, hey, we're in a completely different ballpark. Do you want to make, everyone gets, do you want to make any changes? But I'll be like, hey, I know we had great rapport. Do you want to make any changes? And then it's almost as if they didn't lose the bid. They walked away from the bid. It leaves them feeling just a little bit different, like, hey, we're in a different world. And then they choose, no, I think we won't move forward. And it's very subtle, but it changes it from losing to they walked away. They made a choice instead of they didn't get a choice and they didn't get the house. And oh my God, we bid 50,000 over and we didn't get the house and our agent sucks and blah, 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 blah. Right. But it stops all of that. And it goes, no, then you can say, the emotional buyers who are buying the house, they're like, no, it's the buyers that are crazy. And it's not the agents. It's not, no one's trying to, they feel safe, they feel heard, and they feel like they made a choice. And that's collaboration. That's cooperation.
Yeah.
Communication.
Because what you just did was on either side of that transaction, whether you're the buyer's agent calling and asking questions, calling and developing relationships, or the listing agent sharing, certain things, you've just given the other agent a grace to bring back to their client. And then guess what happens the next deal? That agent is top of mind. And maybe on the next deal, they're more competitive and they can fare better with their client. I know I often will say, oh, I know this agent, she's great to work with. That's just the way it happens. Hey, Dylan, I see a hand up. Is that on purpose or was that a mistake?
Me putting a hand up or?
Yeah, isn't that a hand? Oh, never mind. It's gone now.
I didn't put a hand up. I moved my arm forward. I was doing something with my screen, fixing it.
I thought it's gone now. It's fine.
I did think that someone was maybe trying to chime in. So if you were trying to chime in, please don't hesitate to ask a question now. I might have been mistaken, but
how many of you have had an agent on the other side that was very difficult to work with in the past? Yeah. And how many have had an agent that they loved? Nobody loved another agent? Okay, there we go. And which left you feeling better? Which was better for your client, for the transaction, for the whole thing? It's the good relationship one. And unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, the bar for entry to real estate is not that high. And you get all sorts of people, and the qualified and the unqualified and the new and the old, and we have a churn of people, which is great because I truly believe real life is a real life game of Monopoly and we should all get a chance to play. But at the same time, it can make it difficult. So when you have an issue, have you ever approached okay, here's something. It's hard to do. It's hard to do this without upsetting people. There was a listing that I was showing, and in the comments it said that you could rent the basement out. Well, I know for a fact you can't rent the basement out. Oh, the income potential of $1,000, blah, 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 blah. It's not legal. You can't, you'll never qualify on the mortgage for it. You'll never, maybe you can do it afterwards, but it can't be part of the deal. It can't be in writing. It's just not doable. And I called the other agent, and as soft as I could, because I want to elevate the business, right? Like, I don't want to leave that out there. I called the other agent and I'm like, have you checked? Instead of saying, you can't do this, like, what are you, crazy? Or ignoring her and just, telling my clients, no, this agent doesn't, that you can't do that, and if they want proof, you show the proof. I called her. I'm like, have you checked? Have you checked with the HOA and the county to make sure that you can do this? Because I'd hate for you to have a problem when the mortgage company tries to count that income. She's like, no, I didn't check. I'm like, because I didn't think you could do it. I'm like, maybe you should check. I ended up getting a call back thanking me. And that is such an area. It's in my neighborhood. It didn't sell. I then had the opportunity to step in, which is not the reason I share the story. It's a way to, I don't want to use the word police, but to course correct in a nice way. It's communication in that too. Like, I would want someone, I've had someone call me and say, your listing shows a 2-car garage, but it's a 3. And I'm like, oh my God, I had no idea, like, thanks for letting me know. We're here to help make this work. There's 10,000 fields in the MLS, so make that call when you see something. That's all right, but don't call them and say, hey, jerk, you screwed up. Like, this is wrong. You can't do that. Or don't go right to their broker, obviously if they're doing something truly nefarious, but just be human. Like, it would be like walking past someone in the street whose tag's sticking out. You're like, hey, let me just tuck that in for you. We need to be nice.
In New York, they call that illegal.
That's not, but I tell this story often. I was 35 years old before I realized I could make eye contact with people. I grew up right outside of New York City, and you don't look at people. I was about 35 and I said to my friend, I'm like, if you smile at strangers, they smile back. She's like, of course they do. In Virginia, they do. In New York, I was taught never to look someone in the eye. So
Who does the tag thing all the time? Somebody wrote, she does the tag thing oh, Brian.
I do the tag thing. Yes, Brian wrote that all the time. I'm constantly, I constantly want to connect with people. And just, he says true story all the time. Like, that's beautiful nail polish, especially when they're cranky with me. When they're cranky with me, I used to be mean back. I would be, if someone was a Karen to me, I'd be a Karen to them. No offense to any Karens watching the show, but I'm using the type. And I would do it back, like, I can fight fire with fire, right? No. Absolutely not.
It's quite the accomplishment to win them over, right?
Oh, it's the best. And they soften because they're human. They're acting that way for whatever reason. That's when you compliment something completely. Like, I'll notice anything, like, oh, your hair looks really good. Oh, that's such a pretty color pink. Oh, I have a wallet just like that. Oh, I have my nails the same color. Oh, I have 3 boys too. Oh, I have a dog. Whatever you can to, or if it's really, you must be crazy today. I'm sure your phone's ringing off the hook, like anything that you can see outside, and that will connect. And suddenly the wall comes down, and it's like that with everything. This is lead development. This is contracts. Like, this skill is life.
Who else here does that? There must be people here who do some of what Gina was just expressing in their own way. Does anybody want to share something that they do routinely to connect with, whether it be another agent, a client, or just somebody in the supermarket?
I mean, I can say that like, as a new agent, it's something I struggle with when people are kind of more closed off to me. I'm not, like, generally the most open person as it is, like, in that sense, where I'm, like, willing to share personal life stuff outside of like, getting the job done. So like when it comes to trying to relate to somebody, I struggle with that. So it's like nice to hear that, like, how you utilize those like options in your life to, connect with somebody who's maybe a little cold at first, because that's something that I definitely need to work on myself.
It's people want to talk too. So questions work really good for that. I mean, even if it's, let's say it's middle of the day and someone's being grumpy. Hey, I'm like, oh, I'm starving. Did you have lunch yet? Like it can be completely unrelated to anything. But if you ask a question, especially an off-topic question, walls tend to come down. You'll get them to open up and communicate. People want to talk about themselves. You don't have to share. If you're not one
Yeah.
who likes to share, it's not so much you sharing, it's you showing an interest.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That
It's
6 degrees of separation is such, there's so much truth in every conversation that you have. You can find that connection if you're looking for it, if you're asking the right questions.
um, Tyson, why don't you go?
Well, I mean, for me, it just kind of comes natural. I don't really even think about real estate when I'm out and about and in public. I just love to talk to people and build relationship with anybody and everybody. Because you never know when you're talking to somebody, they may know somebody that you need to know. So I'm just always trying to be out there and meet people, connect with people, build relationships, and just you never know where it's going to take you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you are excellent at it, Tyson. You really are a great connector. And I think most of us are. Most of us, whether you're shy or like Dylan and a little, more reserved, or if you're out there like Tyson is, we are people that are looking to connect. And there's so much opportunity in our business to do that, whether it brings business or not. We're in this for the long haul, right?
Yeah.
It's not just for tomorrow.
Yeah, and just always stay positive and kind. I mean, I actually enjoy coming up against those negative, angry people, and I just kill them with kindness and joy to the point where they just feel terrible. Like they almost want to apologize that they're so negative when you're so positive back to them. They just don't even know how to handle it. They're like, I mean, you just almost leave them dumbfounded that you're so positive and nice when they're so angry and negative. I think it's funny.
To bring it
So,
back into, I'm sorry, Colby, go ahead.
I just wanted to comment something that this reminds me of that I've been doing recently. Like, when you drive on the road and someone cuts you off, it's really easy to think like, oh, what an a-hole, or, something really kind of mean. We're like so mean behind the wheel. But if you actually kind of reframe it as, oh man, like that's kind of scared me. Like what that person did scared me. You're making it more about your feelings and how you're experiencing it and less about what they did wrong. Because the reality is, like, they could be rushing to the hospital. Like, you have no idea what caused them to do that. And everyone makes mistakes on the road. So when you kind of take responsibility for how it made you feel, instead of pointing the finger at what they did wrong, which could have just simply been a mistake, right? Someone said everyone's going through their own stuff. And you can apply this not behind the wheel. You can apply this in everything, in anything.
Yeah.
I was thinking when you were talking that I usually think I don't know what's going on in their life, but that's you identifying your emotion is the next level to that. No, I don't know what their reason is, and I would just let it go. But no, that was scary. That was a little crazy. Hope they're okay. Like changing it that way. I like that. Thank you.
Mhm.
So
All right, well,
where I was going with that fits right in along with what Colby was saying and Gina saying. Tyson, thank you for that. We wanted to touch a little bit on gratitude and how that fits in to this whole conversation with other agents, with our clients, etc. So, Gina, how are there ways that you purposely try to express your gratitude in your day-to-day business? Where does that show up?
So gratitude's a big one for me. Can I tell a long story? I'm so into big stories.
You
I'm
can
sorry.
tell stories. We love stories.
No, long story, nothing short. I guess it was about 8 or 9 years ago, I was going through a thing and I sort of got stuck in it, a personal thing. And I kept saying, oh, and I would just, oh, I'm going to be broke if I don't get it together. Oh, my business is going to fall apart. Oh, I have like all the bad things. Like if I don't start exercising, I'm going to get fat and I'll be out of shape and I'll be this and I'll have no money. And I would just sort of spiraled. And the very first thing to stop, it was to just stop doing that. But then my coach had me to start to write a gratitude list every day. And I was in such a space that I didn't even, all right, fine, I'm grateful for my house. But the back of my mind would be going, yeah, and it needs a paint job and this, that. Like I was so negative because I was in a bad space. And I'm like, no, I'm still grateful I have it. I'm grateful for the house. And it just started that slow. Like I would fight with myself. But after doing this for a few weeks, all of a sudden I had momentum. Like, and then the list was easy and I was excited. So part of my work or daily practice is I write this list every day of all the things I'm grateful for. And then I take it one step further and write what I'm going to be grateful for next year. And the reason, and there's magic here. This is truly, you can't even explain it. I started doing this. My coach told me to. I thought it was stupid, but how do I know what I'm going to be grateful for next year? And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm grateful for a water view. I'm grateful for a new kitchen. I'm grateful for, I wanted to redo my kitchen. And I had ideas in my head on how these things would happen. This is the best example though. COVID hits. This is right when COVID hit, when I first started doing this. I ended up moving 6 months into COVID from a listing appointment I went on and I bought it, occupational hazard. And as I'm moving, I see the list when I first started writing what I was grateful for the next year. And I sat down and just looked. I was getting a new kitchen because I was moving. I got my new kitchen. I traded in a condo for a lake house. Through a 1031. Like all of these things had happened without me really, like, yes, you're moving to it. And it's not like I drew the actual plan, to get from point A to point B, but what you focus on really does expand. Passive income. I wanted more passive income. My investment portfolio exploded. Like all of these things, while I didn't know exactly where I was going, instead of thinking, oh, I'm going to go broke, oh, I'm going to be fat, oh, I'm going to be this, oh, I'm going to be that, oh, everything's so hard. We say that a lot, like, oh, it's just so hard to do that. Well, you know what? Then it will be hard. If it's, oh, it's so great, I get to do this. I get to do this. Everything changes. So every day I start with what I'm grateful for today and what I'm grateful for next year. Then whenever I'm having a particular rough patch, I force myself, I have an entire box of envelopes, cards, stickers, all the things. If I'm in a bad space mentally, I will just force myself to write love notes. Like, not like I love you, but, write notes to past clients or friends or people that I've crossed paths with, and just tell them, be kind, tell them what you like about it, something to make them laugh. I cover the thing with stickers. I save them all from my son's thing. I want the mailman to be happy when he sees the envelope. I had one past client was like, what is this? And that phone call alone makes me laugh. They're laughing at it. Good. I made them laugh, So when I'm in a bad space, I force myself to do good. Same with donating. If I feel like money's tight, you want to say no to donating, I force myself to give. I force myself to stay. I don't want to change the flow of, I have plenty. I believe that. I live that. I've seen the results. I don't know how to say it without, but I fight. It's almost like kill myself with kindness. So there you go. We were saying killing with kindness, kill yourself with kindness. And it's not like that glass of wine that we say, oh, I deserve this. You deserve a walk in the woods. You deserve a hug. You deserve, I get so excited some days. The day that I'm about a year into this, I was driving down the street and all of a sudden I was like, oh my goodness, I am so grateful that my body can synthesize vitamin D from the sun. Like that is a miracle. Like that's how far you go. There's so many great things happening all the time. So get to the point where you're grateful that you can make your own vitamin D and you're headed in the right direction.
Well, thank you for sharing those practices and routines that you have, because I think sometimes, we hear you got, be grateful, or, get into this or get into this, but then to actually manifest that, sometimes for me, I feel lost. I don't know exactly, where to start with it. So when I hear, solid foundational things that you're doing routinely, I think, it just helps me along that journey. So thank you. Colby, I want to just share, if people are interested in we've gone a little off track, but I love that we're talking gratitude. Do you remember that gift that you gave me that you and Dylan made? It was the little jar that,
Mhm.
can you
Yeah, the
tell
jar
people
with the
what
little
that is?
penny.
Because it was one of the best gifts I ever got. And it might be something somebody here may want to do.
Well, I'll let Colby talk about it because she's the one who put all the effort in.
Yeah, I think it was a jar, and in it there was, a bunch of little rolled up papers inside a little like pill. And when you picked one out at random, right? And you open it up and it either had like an inspiring quote or like an action item for the day or a compliment or a reminder that you're loved and appreciated. And it's kind of like when you need a little dose of something good, dip into this jar and pull it out. So I mean, it is a really great gift, and it's also just a really great practice to bring you into gratitude and self-appreciation and love every day.
It was
I
a
also
pill. They were
participate.
pills. You broke up a little bit when you said it. They're little pills, like little capsules that she opened up and rolled little pieces of paper with handwritten notes and then put them back into the pills and individual pills. And then the pills went in a jar. So like instead of reaching for Aleve or Advil, you reach into the jar and there's this message, and the messages were written very personally. I mean, they can be general. Some of them were, but a lot of them were very personal as well. So it's really a nice gift, either for somebody you're very close with, or even somebody you're not.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that it's medicine because it's better than the glass of wine.
Yeah, it was a very, very cool gift. So I just want to wrap this up because we're starting to get closer to the end here, and I want to bring it to this whole conversation that we had that started off us deciding to do this call, and that was the brokerage change, right? I made a change, you made a change. There are people, that were on this call that have made a change, and some that haven't, that we're all still very close with. I will leave it to you to comment on this, Gina, but I find that the brokerage that you hang your hat under doesn't matter as much as the person, the relationship that I have with each individual. And that was kind of what we wanted to make sure if anybody had any questions about that, or just to share what our experiences have been across brokerage lines.
When I saw you made the leap, it was congratulations. Clearly, it's something that works for you. It was all love, all happiness. And when you reached out about this, it was all I could do I practically did backflips. I was so excited to partner with her. Sometimes we find that our affiliations divide us rather than connect us. And that's not the point. You can love your brokerage. You can bleed your brokerage colors. You can believe in their mission 100%. And that doesn't mean the other ones are bad. Or the other people are bad. if someone leaves you, it's not personal. It is something, it's personal to them for what they're doing. It's not personal to you. And I have great relationships with agents all over the country, the world actually. And I will continue to refer to the person who's best for my client, not best for my brokerage. Our fiduciary duty is to our client. And I love that as a society or a group, as a profession, we've gotten better at including when people leave, and it's gotten less cover your paper, like, no, this is only for me, this is only for my brokerage, or, oh, we don't talk to them, or, oh, that's the bad brokerage, or all that click stuff is not necessary. Your client's best agent may be at a different brokerage, if you're referring someone out of the area. And what I have found is if I don't know someone in an area, but I know someone there, like let's say I don't have a Connecticut agent. Well, Ava, you are Connecticut, aren't you?
I was gonna say,
But-
wait a minute.
Sorry, I was trying to think of a close one to you, but I would.
No, but Connecticut is
I
a
asked
good
you.
example.
Yeah.
Connecticut's a good example because there are parts of Connecticut that are too far for me. So
Yeah.
if you were to call me and say, I have blah, blah, blah in Connecticut, I might say to you, too far for me, but you should call
Right.
Jane Doe because she's perfect.
And sometimes you go 5 levels out trying to find the right person too.
Yeah.
And it's not the popularity contest. It's go to the trusted person, and they don't have to be in real estate. So, if you have family somewhere, you could say, well, what names do you see? Let's say your brother in Cincinnati wants to sell his house and he's like, who should I use? Hey, why don't you tell me the signs you see in your neighborhood and I'll interview them for you. So then, it's somebody that's
I
local,
love that.
and I'll be happy to vet them and make sure we have a good match for you, rather than you randomly picking. It's so much better that way. And definitely,
Do a lot of people on this call do a lot of referrals, agent to agent referrals? So Gina and I and Colby, and it looks like I see a lot of head shaking, Herb and a couple of others here. My business was built, probably 50 to 60% of my business is agent to agent referrals. And in that process of building those relationships across all brokerages, I also have had the opportunity to do exactly what you just said, Gina. I had my sister-in-law or my husband's cousin saying that they were going to pick somebody because he lived in the complex. And I said, well, that's great that he lives in the complex. That doesn't necessarily mean he's the best agent for you. And I actually did meet with him, vet him, and several others. And in the end, we still went with the one they wanted. I still referred the business. Incidentally, I did not think he was the best pick, but they were so attached to him. They ended up not being the happiest of people with him at the end, but I was able to help because I was connected to him and I was able to jump in there. So, any relationship, anytime, it's always worth diving in because you don't know what the next relationship's going to bring you.
Right. 100%.
Yesterday,
I like that. Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry. Yesterday I came back from Cabo after daylight savings time, getting in at 11. I went on a listing appointment at 8:30 in the morning, only to find out the guy doesn't want to list it. He just wants to find a buyer on his own. So what am I doing tomorrow? I'm bringing him 2 buyers. He probably won't list it with me, but maybe I win on the buy side. And if not, he lives in Connecticut. He has other homes. He knows other people. So if nothing else, I'm building a relationship for future.
Yes, that's perfect. And you'll probably will sell it because the market's if you have no inventory like I do, probably will.
Does everybody have no inventory? Herb, how's your market? Is it tight with inventory?
Right now we're tight. We have 1, 2, 3, 3 that came, 3 listings just came up on the board when I was away. Have 3 under contract and 2 referrals came in or cold calling this morning, have 2 possible listings.
Yeah,
And
so
then
you're experiencing it.
I just messaged you. My wife has she asked me if I know anybody in Connecticut this morning before she left to go show a house. And once you said, I just text you saying I will be reaching out to you with all the details.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Collaboration and cooperation at work.
At its finest.
6 months
Anyway,
and
so
Anthony, where are you? I see 6 months of inventory. Where's Fremont?
0.6, less than a month.
Oh, 0.6. I'm like, oh my God, it's a buying opportunity. Yeah, no, we're we're about 10 days. Yeah, here. So I got very excited.
you were going to move there.
Be excited too if it was that.
Right. Well, no, we'd be completing the other way with 6 months of inventory. What do I have to do to get this house to sell?
So to wrap up, can I ask you one question, Gina? I don't know if anybody else here is as interested as I am, and I actually know the answer, but I'm going to ask, how did you get the gig on TED Talk? I want to know.
Have I ever told you? Did I tell you?
You just told me recently, and it was a law of attraction kind of thing, wasn't it?
It was just right place, right time. I was talking to people. It was very random. It was a local business owner who was looking to put on TED, had gotten the franchise, or I don't know how it works on the back end, but had gotten the agreement and was looking for people in the area. And somebody said, oh, talk to Gina. She knows everybody. And I left with the speaking gig. And I filled 3 slots, including my son. And my son went on to do 2, actually. He went on
I
to do
didn't know
more.
that.
Yeah. So Andrew's done 2.
Wow.
But it was actually 2 people have gone on to do 2. But it was, who do you know? How can I help? Like, I just went there. I didn't know it was a TEDx talk meeting. I didn't know. I ran to like some coffee shop or Subway or something. And I came back like, oh my God. It was my first speaking gig. I do not recommend doing your first one on TEDx and practice somewhere else on a smaller venue. I'd done Toastmasters after, so I could drop my ums, and thank God they edited it. That's all I have to say on that one. It was scary.
Well, you guys should go take a listen because I thought it was great. And I'm so appreciative of you, Gina, for joining us today. Having a famous person on our Monday Mastermind is so special.
There you go. There, I am in a few investigation discovery shows on IB. Again, connection, the scene person called on one of my listings years ago, and then I got in with him, and half my clients have been in them, their houses. Until that guy moved out of the area, that is a lot more fun than a TED Talk.
We'll have to talk more about that. Gina also wrote a book.
Well, it's a guided journal, not a book.
All right, a journal. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It looks like a book, guys. Okay.
Yes, it does look like a book.
It's actually a journal that you can use to help improve your own practices and your own gratitude and etc.
Yeah, I thank you. It's not a book, but it works really well. And there's a little happiness test that you take in the beginning and every 30 days, so you can actually see your score go up, so you can build the momentum forward, because it will snowball just like it will fall back. So we don't want to do downward spirals. We want to do upward snowballs.
Well, thank you.
We can share the link with everyone. When we send out an email after the call, we'll share a link
Yes.
to your book. So if they can.
And if there's anybody
I-
here who wants to be a speaker sometime in the future and you have a topic you want to discuss, please reach out to Colby or myself or Dylan. We are always looking to showcase talent. So, and Colby, did you post or are you going to say what we have next?
Yeah, I posted it in the chat. We've got a workshop coming up a week from tomorrow with Jamie Lynn, who is a mind-body wellness practitioner. And we're going to be talking about how to integrate, mind and body awareness into your business. And then we also have our next Monday Mastermind is Monday, March 25th with Simon Westfall Kwong. He's one of the top 1% teams out of New Jersey, top 10 in his local MLS. His team has sold a sales volume over 800 million. So we have a lot to learn from him. So he'll be joining us in 2 weeks. So links, flyers. They're all in the chat, but we'll send you guys an email so you can plug in with us in the coming weeks. And thank you all for
so
being
much.
here so much,
Thank
Gina.
you,
This was a
thank
really
you.
enriching conversation. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I'd love to connect with you all. There's lots of new faces on there, people I don't know. So definitely, Colby, do you send something out with a way to get in touch with me? Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
would love to stay connected with y'all. I feel like I know I'm reading the comments as they pop up and things like that. So definitely reach out to me and just say that, you know, we were on Eva's
We'll share, we do share the
Mastermind?
recording, and we
Okay.
share the contact with everyone.
So I'd love to continue the conversation.
Thank you so much, Gina. Love
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you. Love you
everyone.
too.
Have a great week.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.